Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Denver, we need to talk because something wild just broke out of Broncos camp, and it is the kind of news that makes you drop your coffee mid-sip. Two names, two blockbuster possibilities, one shocking free agent reunion, and one jaw-dropping trade rumor that could reshape the entire identity of this defense. Buckle up, because by the end of this video, you are going to have some serious opinions. And honestly, you should. This is the kind of off-season chaos that Broncos fans dream about. The kind where your front office isn't sitting on its hands, it's out there hunting, scheming, and maybe about to strike gold twice. Before we get into the madness, if you are new around here, welcome to the family. This channel lives and breathes Broncos football. And if that sounds like your kind of energy, do yourself a favor and smash that like button and hit subscribe right now, because we are about to break down two roster moves that could define whether Denver's Super Bowl window stays wide open or slams shut early. So here's what happened. Practice wraps up, and Sean Payton steps up to the podium looking like a man who wants to get in and get out. 11 minutes. That's it. For a guy who has spent the entire week talking to reporters like he's got nothing better to do, holding surprise press conferences nobody even scheduled, this sudden urge to keep things short and sweet was more than a little suspicious. And it turns out, there was a very good reason. He did not want to stand up there and answer questions about a story that had just leaked from his own camp straight to NFL Network. The story? The Denver Broncos are exploring a reunion with Taysom Hill. Yes, that Taysom Hill. The human Swiss Army knife. The Joker. The guy Sean Payton built an entire offensive identity around back in New Orleans, using him as a tight end, a wildcat quarterback, a punishing lead blocker, and every so often a legitimate passing threat who could throw a dart across the field when defenses least expected it. Payton got more out of Taysom Hill than any coach in the league thought was possible, turning a player teams once viewed as barely roster-worthy into one of the most unpredictable weapons in football. Green Bay drafted him. Green Bay let him walk. Sean Payton scooped him up and turned him into a nightmare for opposing defensive coordinators. Now Denver is reportedly kicking the tires on bringing that same chaos to the Rocky Mountains, and it makes a strange kind of sense. Payton has never been shy about surrounding himself with familiar faces. There are already close to 20 former Saints coaches or players who have followed him to Denver in some form or fashion. This is simply who Sean Payton is. Loyalty runs deep, and when he finds a player who fits his scheme like a glove, he does not let go easily. But before you get too excited, let's pump the brakes for a second and look at the numbers, because they tell a complicated story. Taysom Hill has not exactly been the same explosive weapon these past couple of seasons. An injury limited him to just 8 games in 2024, and last season the Saints seemed to scale back his workload significantly, using him in only 13 games. His rushing attempts dropped hard, down to just 52 carries last year after already declining from a higher number the season before. Even more telling, he scored only a single rushing touchdown all of last season. He barely cracked the century mark in receiving yards, and get this, he only attempted 2 passes the entire year. For a player once known as an offense unto himself, those numbers are a serious gut check. That is the bearish case, plain and simple. We have already seen the best version of Taysom Hill, and it happened years ago under this exact coaching staff. Maybe that magic doesn't come back. Maybe Father Time has quietly caught up to the Joker. But here's the bullish counterargument, and it's a compelling one. Sean Payton is not just any coach evaluating Taysom Hill from the outside. He is the architect who built the blueprint in the first place. When the numbers dipped in New Orleans and in Green Bay before that, it wasn't because Taysom Hill lost his talent, it was because nobody else knew how to deploy him the way Payton once did. If Sean Payton brings him to Denver, you can bet he already has a plan for exactly how to use him. because this is the same mind that turned an afterthought into a household name the first time around. Still, there's a real roster crunch to consider here. Denver's tight end room is already loaded with intriguing talent. You've got promising pieces developing in camp, a tight end group that some believe is on the verge of a breakout, and veteran presence stepping up in a way that has turned heads all summer. Adding another body into that mix only makes sense if Taysom Hill is being brought in for something specific, likely as insurance behind the starting quarterback. And that raises the real question fans need to wrestle with. Are you comfortable with Sean Payton carrying just one true backup quarterback on the depth chart if Taysom Hill takes that valuable roster spot instead? Because this roster is far too talented and far too built for a championship run to be wasting a spot carrying three separate quarterbacks just for the sake of depth. If the answer is yes, then this move makes a ton of sense and it comes cheap. We are talking a contract in the range of $4 to $7 million, which, depending on how it's structured, could hit the salary cap for as little as $2 million this season. And here's the kicker. If Denver moves on from its current backup quarterback situation to make room, this roster is projected to be sitting on nearly $44 million in available cap space. That is a massive war chest, and Taysom Hill would barely make a dent in it. Now let's pivot to the other blockbuster storyline, because this one is even spicier. Vita Vea, the mountain of a man anchoring the interior of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive line, has officially requested a trade. And it's not just any trade request. He specifically wants out west, back toward his California roots near the Palo Alto area. Suddenly, teams like the San Francisco 49ers make a ton of sense on paper. But don't sleep on Denver. Vita Vea has already played extensively in this same division. He knows this coaching staff, and there is a very real path for him to fall right in line as a game-wrecking replacement for the void left behind on the defensive interior. Let's be clear about what Vita Vea actually is on a football field, because this isn't hype, this is documented fact. Alongside maybe one other elite interior force in this entire league, nobody has combined stopping the run and disrupting the quarterback from the inside better than Vita Vea over the past several seasons. Broncos fans got a painful, direct reminder of exactly how disruptive he can be during a memorable upset win in Tampa a few seasons back. A game where Denver shocked the football world and got its run game rolling specifically because Vita Vea was sidelined and unavailable to clog things up. Imagine what this defense looks like if, instead of facing him, Denver simply signs him. Here's where things get complicated, though, because acquiring Vita Vea is nowhere near as simple as scooping up a free agent. Tampa Bay is not just going to release a player of his caliber into the wind, they are going to demand real draft compensation. Reports suggest the asking price could land anywhere from a late third-round pickup to a full second-round selection, especially once Tampa Bay realizes exactly which contender is calling. And it's not just draft capital either, because then comes the contract. Estimates on a new Vita Vea deal are ballooning anywhere from $18 million a year all the way up toward $25 to $28 million per season. Numbers that echo the kind of market resetting deal we recently saw at the position when a similar dominant force changed teams and cashed in enormously. That is an enormous financial commitment for a player who is already 31 years old, and it comes at a moment when Denver's front office has already shown its hand in a very telling way. Before Vita Vea's name even entered trade rumors, this same front office made the decision to move on from an established defensive lineman already on the roster. Seemingly confident they already had answers in-house. That decision alone speaks volumes. If the front office felt good enough about internal options to move on from a proven piece before Vita Vea was even a whisper of a possibility, does adding a 31-year-old blockbuster acquisition really change the calculus that much? So which move actually makes more sense for the long-term health of this roster? Here's an argument worth sitting with. When you consider the sheer number of core starters this roster is already retaining, a league-high number by some counts, the smarter play may be reinvesting that same chunk of cap space into locking up the players already inside the building. Instead of funneling $20+ million a year into one 31-year-old lineman plus surrendering a valuable second-round pick, that same financial flexibility could extend and secure multiple ascending stars already wearing the uniform, guys who have already proven they belong in this system and who represent the future of this franchise rather than a 2- or 3-year rental at a premium price. And there is a very real complication lurking 1 year down the road. Next offseason, at this exact point on the calendar, the franchise quarterback becomes extension eligible, and that contract is going to require every ounce of cap flexibility this front office can create. Handcuffing this roster right now with a massive multi-year commitment to a 31-year-old defensive tackle could create serious problems down the line when it's time to pay the guy under center. But let's Steelman the other side too, because there is a genuinely thrilling case for going all in on Vita Vea regardless of cost. If you pair him with the disruptive force already anchoring this defensive line, and then flank both of them with the explosive edge-rushing duo already terrorizing quarterbacks off the edges, you are suddenly talking about a defensive front that could be the single best unit in all of football. Full stop. No arguing. When you have that caliber of interior presence sitting alongside legitimate top 100 caliber talent, plus two of the most disruptive pass rushers on the outside, offenses simply have nowhere to hide. If you genuinely believe this is a Super Bowl window that is wide open right now, maybe you don't worry about what next year's cap sheet looks like. Maybe you go all in, you solve the extension problems next offseason, and you make sure that this year, right now, nobody in the league can run the football against Denver. Championships get won by teams willing to be aggressive when the opportunity presents itself, and this rumor represents exactly that kind of opportunity. So where does that leave us? Two fascinating paths forward. One is a low-cost, low-risk reunion with a familiar face who fits perfectly into exactly the kind of scheme his current coaching staff has already mastered, freeing up nearly all of that $44 million in cap space for other needs. The other is a boom-or-bust blockbuster swing for a true game-wrecking force in the middle of the defense, at the cost of significant draft capital and a contract that could complicate business down the road. If it were a choice between the two, there is a strong case for prioritizing the cheaper, lower-risk move and instead using that financial flexibility to lock down the ascending young talent already on this roster, the players at receiver, in the secondary, and across the defense who have already proven exactly what they can do in this system. That path solves the roster from the inside out and keeps this window open for years, not just one season. But that is exactly why this conversation is so much fun, because there is no single right answer here, only different visions for how you build a champion. Maybe the front office punts on both of these names entirely, and instead the next few weeks bring a wave of hometown discount extensions for the young stars already earning their stripes. Or maybe Sean Payton and his front office decide the time to strike is now, and one of these two names becomes the newest addition to the roster before the season even kicks off. Either way, this is the kind of drama that makes following this team an absolute roller coaster every single offseason, and it is exactly why we are here breaking it all down for you. So here is what we want to know. Are you Team Taysom Hill bringing back the Joker for a reunion tour under the coach who built him? Are you Team Vita Vea, mortgaging draft capital for a true game wrecker in the middle of the defense? Or are you Team neither, hoping that money instead goes straight toward extending the young talent already proving itself on this roster? Drop your take in the comments, because we want to hear exactly where you stand on this one. And if you love breaking down Broncos football the way we just did right here, this is exactly the kind of content you are going to want more of all season long. So make sure you like this video, drop a comment with your prediction, and subscribe to Broncos so you never miss the next big Broncos story the moment it breaks. This Super Bowl window is wide open, the front office is playing chess, and we will be right here breaking down every single move as it happens. Until next time, Broncos country, let's go win this thing.